We're here to see Jenny Lee from GGV, Menlo Park, Sand Hill Road, the center of it all. Jenny Lee,
Hi, Sean.
a
Good
great
to see
pleasure
you.
to meet you, and thanks for having us today. I didn't imagine you'd answer the door yourself.
Well, I was expecting you, so welcome to our GGV office here in the US.
Thank you, yeah. How many general partners do you have in the overall firm?
Yeah, so we have 6 general partners, 3 of our partners based here in the US and 3 of our partners based in China.
Okay, do you want to take us through?
Sure. So at GGV, our offices are always meant for meetings with entrepreneurs. So really the focus of the office layout, whether it's here in the US or in China, is really geared for meetings. Meetings are all equipped as well with video conference. So this allows our US partners, our staff here as well, to connect with our China staff.
Yeah.
So that's how the offices are all set up. They are connected as well, in line with what we do in the internet and technology space. So our offices are supposed to be smart as well. So
Now I noticed over there you've got a little Ms. Pac-Man game.
that's right.
Did you get your start in technology by playing asteroids and Pac-Man like I did, back in the 80s and 70s?
Well, I'm trained as an electrical engineer.
Yeah.
So Cornell grad, first job actually out of my undergrad, I was working in the Singapore Technologies Aerospace Group. And literally, I was upgrading fighter jets. So my first aircraft was a drone. So 20 years ago, I was a system engineer for drone design. And so I got to design it, build it, test it. That's how I started.
So not just
no, as an investor, as an engineer.
And drones have taken off quite a bit since. Do you have any in your portfolio?
We actually do have quite a couple.
Yeah.
Actually, we have a very exciting company called Yihang.
Yeah.
The company actually has a human-sized drone, which is for point-to-point low-altitude transport.
Yeah.
So this is a really interesting one that's very complementary to when we think about autonomous cars.
Yeah.
So why not autonomous planes?
Absolutely. You have a couple of different focus areas for GGV. Can you sort of cover what those are?
Yeah, we have 4 main areas. So the first area for us, it's always been a big area, is basically around consumer commerce transactions. So you can call it e-commerce. And this is an area where GGV has our first start in our first fund, where we were a Series B investor in Alibaba. And back then, this was at the sub 200 million valuation.
Wow.
If you track the stock market, Alibaba today is worth over 400 billion.
Yeah.
So commerce as a sector for us has always been very important. And so over the last 17 years, we've invested in a bunch more of different e-commerce format companies, whether it's the ones in the US or in China, or cross-border business models. So that's one area.
Yeah.
That area is expanding very interestingly offline into offline new retail format. So whether it's in the form of unmanned convenience store, whether it's in form of vending machines for like hot lunches. So that's another extension. The second vertical that we look at as a team would be in the enterprise space. So enterprise obviously is a big area both here in the US and in China, especially with labor cost increase, particularly in China. The urgency for SMEs, the small medium-sized enterprises in China, to adopt outsourced services and software has actually gone up as well. So enterprise is a big one. We do spend a bit more effort looking at cybersecurity, because right now everything online with enterprise data online, it's become more important on the back end, at the infrastructure layer, on the security layer, to find the right startups with the new products. And then we have a third area, which is mostly social and internet. So this is where we look at gaming, we look at how internet is being used to disrupt, say, transportation, right? So the car sharing space, the bicycle sharing space, those are all examples of how traditional businesses, whether it's in transportation, education, or finance, they are being changed because we have mobile internet, we have connectivity, and how do you now do matching of services between consumer requiring the services and the service provider providing the services. So our fourth area, which is a sector that I lead, is in the frontier tech area. So within the frontier tech, I always leave the best for last. So the frontier tech area is one where we have 3 main sub-vertical. The first I actually mentioned is transportation disruption. So this is where, is it autonomous driving? Is it, drones? Are we looking at sensors that can enable the next generation of smart cars. So that's one area where it's all about the next new technology that can produce new products and services.
Yeah.
The second vertical is in the industrial automation space. So this is all about robotics, right? Do we have better service robots for, say, concierge services, hospitality services, offices? So that's the second area. 90% of China's SMEs or factories are actually not automated. There's been a huge push and support from the Chinese government to try to semi-automate a lot of the processes within the factories. And so as a result, new startups are coming up with good kind of workstation process to automate or half automate most of those processes. So this is a big area for us. Typically, it takes the form of combination of computer vision technology. When you have cameras to learn the task that a human worker may be working on, and then combine that with robotics arm to then automate the process. Our third subvertical is AI. So AI Plus is a little bit less hardware compared to transportation and industrial robots, but more machine learning. So machine learning, deep learning, applied with natural language processing or with data. So this area, we've seen it put to use, for example, in finance, where we have portfolio companies using machine learning to automate and speed up techniques to detect credit card fraud. So our partners are very busy on both sides.
And talk about how you deploy capital as we walk around a little. Like, how many investments do you guys make a year, and what is the level of investments where you're first coming in?
At GGV, we are multi-stage, and so we have an early stage fund called Discovery Fund. The Discovery Fund allows us to get in at ground zero. So with entrepreneurs who may have some ideas, so we'll put a small check, few $100,000, or if they're at Series A, they are doing a proper institutional round, 3 to 5 million.
How many investments would you make a year out of your Discovery
For
Fund?
Discovery Fund, anywhere from 20 to 30 companies per year.
Yeah.
So sometimes the number is higher, but the check size may be smaller.
And after the Discovery Fund, do you then have another fund that targets the growth and expansion stages?
So we have a main fund. That fund allows us to come in at later rounds, Series B and later. And so it could be a 10, 20, 30, up to a $50 million check in the main fund.
And you're not the only people writing that check, so they could actually be 50 million to 200, 300, 500 million.
Absolutely, that's right. So that's the size that GGV would write. Typically, we do like to lead the deal. 80% of the deal that GGV looks at, we are actually a lead, and we like to be on the board, especially in the sectors I mentioned earlier, the four main sectors.
Yeah. With those much bigger check sizes, how many investments?
So it's more concentrated.
Yeah.
So on a year, maybe 10 to 15 deals a year.
Yeah. So that's a lot of board seats. So you're on a lot of boards.
So on average, we have about 160, 170 active companies across the entire GGV, across all our funds. So we have 6 partners. So on average, it's between 10, 15 board seats per partner. Given that our fund do look at US and China, we have found that it's very useful to really have insights from both markets to help us make investment decisions locally, as well as help our local companies kind of think about global expansion. So really, we are less, we're not geographic or regional based. It's really a matter of what kind of sectors we're looking at and where the talent is. So if there's a great deal, far out in, I want to say Ithaca, that's where Cornell was, my undergrad.
I grew up in upstate New York, actually.
I went to school at Cornell.
I went to Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute, which we used to play hockey against you guys.
That's
and
right.
you guys would usually win. We won the national championship my graduation year, so we beat everybody that year. But
well, if there's a deal there, I'll be there. Travel within GGV is like, that's the basic criteria. So I think we are less specific about where we need to fly to. But if we have to be there, we'll be there.
yeah.
This is some of your analyst functions, your back office, your portfolio management?
Our entire office is here. Essentially, whether it's the investment team, our portfolio services team, or our back office team, it's an open office concept.
Yeah.
So there is no special room that's set aside for the partners. All the rooms that you see are for entrepreneurs for meetings.
Yeah.
And so it's an open, really culture and environment here as well. It's a great office. It feels very startup and entrepreneurial. So our entrepreneurs, when they come by, our founders, they actually love the feel of this. It's open. It's warm and sharing, I guess.
It's a lovely day outside. I noticed you have a nice outdoor deck where you can
Right.
relax.
We
and
can
kick
go
back.
have a look.
Yeah, sure.
Let's go.
What's a piece of advice for entrepreneurs that you see happening
Sure.
over and over again?
We meet a lot of young entrepreneurs, and I think that it's very important for them to clarify what their vision is. A lot of times entrepreneurs, they have some big idea, but they haven't quite figured out the problems or issues that they are trying to solve. And so, we like for them to really figure out what is it that you're trying to resolve, what problem are you trying to figure out. Understanding what this vision is actually is very important, because once you know exactly what you want to be, then you can align the rest of the organization. It could be finding the right team members. So if you say, I'm just going to be the next, take on WeChat, right, in China, you want to be the next instant messenger giant in China, now obviously that's a huge task. And so it'd be important to understand what kind of needs are you fulfilling that the current app cannot achieve. And so if that's the case, the company would tend to be a product-centric company. And so if you're a product-centric company, the DNA of the company has to be right. So you have to build the rest of your team members to support that vision.
In your frontier tech, where you have some really very, very early ideas that aren't yet, hitting customer revenues, I would imagine. Like your helicopter, personal transport
Right.
helicopter company.
They actually have revenue.
They have revenue, which
They
is
do.
great. Which is wonderful.
They do.
It's wonderful when they do that.
Right.
You're leading around into companies like that. What's the kind of traction you would look to have those companies have, even if they're, say, pre-revenue?
Right. So for Frontier Tech, it's a little different, right? So when I mentioned our 4 sectors, commerce, enterprise, social internet, and then Frontier Tech, there are 2 types of disruption, right? The first type is evolutionary disruption. Whether it's e-commerce or internet, it's in a way evolutionary. Commerce is you used to shop offline and now you go online, right? That's how we define it. There's definitely new innovation in how the commerce is being done, but by and large, it's still a current market. You can think about how big the market is today. You can think about how you want to monetize, whether it's by taking a cut of the transaction or by monetizing through advertising. So those are current year market. So in our fund, we do look at 3 to 5 years, what are current markets. When we look at Frontier Tech, we look beyond 5 years. And we said, okay, 5 years from now, what's going to change? If we think that the current state of, say, compressor-based cooling, right, all the air conditioning, it cranks, right? Our refrigerator, it's not very cold, it doesn't stay cold, and it's wine cooler, for example, right? There's a lot of movement. Then we are thinking, is it possible for solid-state technology to actually replace compressor-based cooling? So we do have a portfolio company called Phononic that's actually doing exactly this, using solid-state technology to revamp. So in this situation, we are more focused on whether the technology can scale. The product roadmap becomes important, and whether the team has gotten over the hump from R&D to commercialization.
Yeah.
So revenue is less important, because if the product is ready, then the next stage will be about finding the right partners, going to market.
What do you look for when you're looking at founders pitching you ideas, or how do you discover how do you find the deals that come to you?
Our partners are focused by different sectors, and we've been focused in all these key sectors for a long time, right? Whether it's 10 years, 15 years. And so by and large, we do have a certain reputation in the market. That helps in terms of allowing entrepreneurs to know which partners to go talk to within the firm, number one. Number two, we have also over the years really funded, I know people don't use the word unicorns, but within the GGV family over the last 17 years, we actually have 44 unicorns.
Which is stunning. Yeah.
And as you know, we are pretty concentrated fund portfolio, right?
Yeah.
And so it's over 20% of our entire portfolio over 17 years. So we do have companies where when we funded them, they were young, they were seed stage, Series A, and then they grew to be unicorns, right? Or bigger unicorns. And so part of that means that we have a very strong GGV family ecosystem. These are entrepreneurs they are repeat entrepreneurs. Some of them are valued personal worth at over $1 billion, and they're off doing the next electric car. Wow. So we get the first call. And so I think a lot of our deal flow definitely came from our vertical expertise, our brand in the market, the fact that we have a great inbound referral from an existing portfolio. So it's one where success does help in terms of finding the next cool things.
Well, and speaking of success, you have been named to the Midas list for quite a few years running, I believe, and if I heard this right, you're also the leading female investor, one of the leading female investors globally, or if not the leading female investor globally. How does that success, make you feel? I guess, and how does it change your life?
It doesn't change my life. I think my team is really happy that GGV gets the recognition for it. But I think that it doesn't change my life, because the love of my life is actually working with entrepreneurs. That's what I love. I love spending time with them, seeing how their vision becomes real. When entrepreneurs goes to NYSE or NASDAQ and it's their IPO day, like that's the time where you see all their dreams come true. So that's what gets me going, is to be able to see and help them realize those visions, and that we were a partner with them along the way. And it's also extremely satisfying when you said that, and we mentioned the human carrying drone. They started as an R&D project 3 years ago. And today, to be able to see it take off, it's still very early days, but take off, they've done manned flights with over 40 passengers, have people fly out there. Like, to just see the happiness within the team. It's moments like this that's actually more important in the life of a VC. It's less important about what other folks think about us. It's more important that the entrepreneurs and us enjoy this, very good synergistic relationship. To see them be successful, we are in a very small piece of that population, right? Where we are constantly in touch with a group of entrepreneurs. They are trying to change the world, whether they are successful or not. Like, you got to give them full support for having the courage, to dream.
What is it when their dreams are dashed? What is it like in those experiences?
It happens as well. So that's why this business has its ups and downs. But I think that ultimately it's still that relationship with the entrepreneurs. Not every startups will end in a $1 billion outcome. Not every startup will end in an IPO. Sometimes it's a takeout M&A. Sometimes it's a shutdown. And so, we are there. I have portfolio companies where I actually sat next to my entrepreneurs as they were laying off their workers. In that situation, I'm more a psychological support to show that we are there to support. So those are the down times. But ultimately, if this is a great CEO, he'll be back. Within a couple of months, he'll be back with new ideas. And usually we are the first call, right? If we are there with them in their previous enterprise and we were there till the end, I think it does form a longer-term relationship with the entrepreneurs. So there's ups in the business, but there's definitely downs. If we do a good investment job, the ups will outweigh
Of
the
course.
downs.
And they have, make the Midas list, they have over and over again. So congratulations.
Thanks to
on
our
that.
GGV partners, we've all done very well.
Yeah. And is there any way that entrepreneurs, when they're reaching out to GGV, how do they put their best foot forward?
The GGV partners are actually very open, right? We are in the US. Our partners are on Twitter. We're on, Facebook. Our own website actually do tend to have a bit more of a inbound.
People can
especially from
apply
this
through the
Yes.
website. There's a form or something.
You
there.
can just write emails to us.
Okay. Yeah.
And so in China as well, we even have WeChats. So I get a lot of the business plan introduction through WeChat. And so I think it's not, in this day of information age, it's actually not difficult. If you're an entrepreneur, you're trying to do a startup, and if you cannot figure out how to get access to an investor, something is wrong. And we are a bunch of investors who are not hiding in the corner, not going out. So we are out there. Our information is on the internet.
Yeah.
And if you search, you can find my email address, my phone number.
Yeah.
So it's literally my phone number. So it's not hard. It's actually the first test that any entrepreneur has to go through, which is do not spam email all the investors. Make sure you do some homework, make sure that's the right fit, and then kind of go tactically to approach them. And we like that. But a lot of times we also reach out to entrepreneurs, right? Because we are very thematic and sector focused. When I'm looking at, say, startups in the autonomous driving space, we actually will reach out to companies, whether they are in the US or China or Southeast Asia, and we'll call and say, we'll cold call, figure out who we are, introduce who we are, and then actually have a meeting with them. So as much as it's inbound, we also do a lot of outreach. At the heart of it, our partners here we all love entrepreneurship. We all love entrepreneurs. The one thing and that's a common thread among all 6 partners, is that we enjoy the time that we spend with the entrepreneurs. And if we can just make one of them the next Jack Ma, that would be a good life for any of us. So that's what gets us going. That's what gets us up every day, looking through the thousands of business plans to find that special spark.
Yeah. That's great. Thank you very much for your time
Great. Thank
today,
you.
Jenny.
Thank you.
Really great pleasure to meet you.
Yeah.
If you like that, give us a thumbs up there. There's a thumbs up somewhere on this YouTube channel, isn't there? And subscribe. That would make me so happy. That's 42 questions for you.